Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most exciting part of this conference, Kandang Naga, the Dragon's Den. We're actually giving away money here, but we're giving away money only for the best and the very, very best. So what we did, we had a competition, Compete to Innovate, and people were making videos for innovative projects, making pitches. And with the CCAFs team, we chose the 3 best, and only the 3 very, very, very best. So they're really proud that they were chosen. But here's the hard part. They're gonna be grilled. I don't know how many people of you have seen that movie by Monty Python, The Holy Grail, where you have this tiny little animal. That's the story. So what's going to happen? You're going to see the pictures right now. That's a 1 or 2 minute video. I'll call on stage my judges, and we have 2 of the participants here, and 1 by video connection from the US. And then each of the participants will be grilled for 5 minutes. After that, you will be able to vote who gets the prize of $8,000 to actually implement the project. Can I see the videos of the best submissions, please?
About 2 million families worldwide rely on agriculture for living. Agricultural insurance can play an important role in securing farmers' livelihoods and boosting the efficiency of the agricultural sector. But access to agricultural insurance remains low. Why? The cost of delivering this service in remote areas, the green bars in the graph, is higher than the prices farmers are willing to pay, the yellow bar in the right. Simply, insurance is about predicting future harvests, but there are not enough historical weather data in rural areas. This creates uncertainty, which makes insurance to be very expensive. On top of that, the administrative cost of taking insurance to farmers in rural areas is also high.
So now we are creating affordable climate insurance products by reducing the cost of uncertainty and administrative costs. How does our solution work? First, we collect massive amounts of data coming from satellites, weather stations, and eventually cell phone tower infrastructure already in place. We use machine learning and climate science modeling to generate very region-specific seasonal forecasts. This way, we can better understand the risk farmers face, reduce the uncertainty, and therefore provide more affordable climate insurance.
We have built a diverse and specialist team. We have our pilot running in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, creating climate insurance for soybean producers. Our technology is scalable, and we want to become a global actor in the agricultural insurance industry.
Ending deforestation could close 20% of the gap in emissions reduction needed to keep global warming under the 2-degree tipping point. For that reason, we aim to develop a deep learning product for automatic land use classification. Forest Barometer will combine forest and commodity maps to reveal where deforestation is linked to commodity markets. The interactive maps would be used to help 473 companies that have made commitments towards zero deforestation supply chains, which up to now has been limited to expensive certification approaches. Our information service could reduce verifications cost by up to 40% and cost to certification services by 15%. Part of the cost savings would pay Forest Barometer user fees to maintain the service for a zero deforestation future.
Hi, my name is Duncan Gromko, and I'm pitching an investment accelerator for climate-smart agriculture. Transforming global agriculture will require enormous investment, especially from the private sector. But so far, investors are mostly on the sidelines, primarily because there aren't enough bankable projects out there. That's why we're pitching this investment accelerator. We work with climate-smart agribusinesses to make them more investment-ready. We help them develop business plans, and we work on their financial management. Once they're ready, we match them to appropriate investors. What's more, we run our investment accelerator on a commercial basis. This ensures that the businesses value our services and allows us to be more financially sustainable in the long run. So far, we've supported about 20 businesses, mostly in East Africa. But there's enormous potential to move to other countries and to increase the number of companies that we're working with. As we grow, as the accelerator grows, agriculture will become a lot more sustainable.
Give them a big round of applause, because these were the 3 best of the best. Okay, now the procedure once again. I'll call on my judges. Rebecca Carter, please come on stage. She's Deputy Director of Climate Resilient Practice in the World Resources Institute. And the other one, David Soukhasing, please come on stage, who is with Angel Investment Network in Indonesia, based in Jakarta. So these 2 people are going to grill the 3 participants. And for 5 minutes each, and after 5 minutes, you'll hear a roar, a real dragon's roar. Can I have the dragon's roar, please? That's not a dragon's roar. And to be quite honest, if we can do Beethoven's 9th Symphony within 10 minutes, I want to hear that roar from you. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. Are we getting there, jury, judges? We getting there, eh? Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Okay, so this is what you're heading for, dear pitchers. Let me call on, we have for the first barometer, we have Tiffany. Please come on stage, Tiffany. For the climate insurers, we have Rodrigo. We have him, please go on that side. We have Rodrigo on video, and we have Duncan for the investment accelerator. Duncan, there you go. Do we have Rodrigo on video connection from, I think, the United States? We have.
Hello.
Hi, Rodrigo. You're live here in Bali. You're familiar with the process because we went through it yesterday. For 5 minutes, you will answer questions by those 2 judges, and after 5 minutes, you're off the hook. What's the time difference? What's the time at your place of the globe?
It's 3:40 in the morning.
Right. He's all yours. 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
All right.
And counting.
Shall I take the first question?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, Rodrigo, if I understood your video correctly, you are talking about climate-based insurance. Can you tell us a little bit more about who your competitors are in this space and why your approach is better? Because I'm hearing a lot about insurance at this conference and other places. So tell me more about why your idea is investable.
Sure, thanks. So we identified 2 sets of competitors. First are the traditional insurance companies. They tend to be, they have the advantage that they can reach farmers easily, but they are less innovative. On the other side, there are startup companies, which are trying to address one of the cost drivers that we mentioned in the video. We think that we are better because we can address them both. We can reduce the cost of taking insurance to remote areas, but more importantly, we believe that our technology, we can reduce the cost of index of basis risk, which is basically the cost of not having good information.
All right, thank you. David?
Hi, David here. So I think when you pitch, I hear something about machine learning, AI. This is something I hear all the time, but I don't know what it is. If you can actually explain us what it is, machine learning, and how you use it in your case.
Sure. So we collect vast amounts of data. So right now in our pilot, we're using satellite information and information measured in the ground. This information in the ground comes from weather stations and from farmers. We collect information about their productivity and their management practices. The satellite information comes from different sources, and it includes information about rainfall, temperature, and vegetation indexes, basically. And eventually, we plan to incorporate information generated by this technology that creates weather data from the cell phone infrastructure already in place. And then we will combine that all with these machine learning algorithms. Currently, we're using classification algorithms based on random forest to predict the probability of a loss in a given plot. I don't know if that answers your question.
All right, that's the shiny high-tech part, but I have a more mundane question for you. You also say
Sure.
that you'll reduce costs by reducing administrative costs. How will you do that?
Oh, so that's a very tough question, and that's actually our core value proposition is about reducing the basis risk, because we are still exploring. I think let me put it this way: to reduce the cost of taking insurance to remote areas, there needs to be a combination of some new technologies, for instance, blockchain, smart contracting, but also rely on what local forces for like distribution can do, and that will vary from setting to setting. That's basically the answer.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I think we got the idea, but because execution is everything, how do you convince us you are the right people actually to take this idea to a success? Why we should actually invest in you?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think because we have a very complementary team. I've done climate insurance in the past, but we have a team of very technical people who have done. So let me go through my team very briefly. So Alvaro is our CTO. He has a machine learning background, and he is the person responsible of making this scalable. We also have a climate person, Marcos Andrade. He's a former postdoc at NASA and currently an adjunct professor at the University of Maryland. And he's responsible of doing this seasonal forecasts. But we have also people on the ground, and we have a very strong team. I think that would be the answer to your question.
All right, I think that's your 5 minutes, if I'm correct there. Should we move on to the next contestant? And keep in mind his responses, because you are going to vote at the end of this which of our 3 contestants get the money.
So let's hear that roar for Rodrigo. 1, 2, 3. Sleep well, Rodrigo, after this.
Rodrigo, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
How does that make you feel, Tiffany, knowing that you're up next?
Sadly underqualified. That was a great performance, Rodrigo. So
Okay.
I'll try my best.
Up to you. The spotlight is yours.
All right.
There you go.
Do you want to start this time, David? You want to go first this time?
Oh, go ahead. Ladies first.
Oh, okay. All right, so Tiffany, the Forest Barometer. You talk about 473 companies that would benefit from, 473 countries that are trying to reduce emissions from their commodity chains. How big an impact is that actually? 473, is that a lot of companies? Is that a few companies? Convince me that this is really going to make change at scale.
Well, 473 companies is quite a lot. These are the companies that have signed on to the New York Forest Declaration to either cut out deforestation entirely from their value chain or in part. Already, just from the coffee and cocoa sector, which is the one that our team is the most familiar with, we could cut the emissions by 27 million tons in the next 15 years, just by reducing deforestation in those sectors. And those 473 companies include many more sectors than just coffee and cocoa. There was a report produced in 2017 that estimated that another 1.4 million hectares of forest would be lost if business as usual expansion practices are used in the coffee and cocoa space. And that's basically what we want to avoid. I'll just say one more thing. The land use classification system that we're using is already working. So the technology is there, and we need to make it applicable so that it's something that is producing outputs that the coffee and cocoa and other companies that have made those commitments can actually use in their decision making. And to make that happen, we have to understand how they're making decisions around land use, purchasing, and make this something that actually works in the procurement system rather than just voluntary sustainability standards.
Thank you.
So thank you. There's actually some money to win today, right? And the decision is going to be made tomorrow. If you were to win this $8,000, what will you do with that?
Yeah, great question. we don't necessarily want to build and run a solution for the future. I come from CIAT, we're a research institute. We don't have a sales team. We're not in constant contact with the companies that would be using this tool. Rather, we want to use the 8,000 just to build a module that would be an information module that would fit in to other service providers and consulting companies, services that they're providing to the company. So there are a lot of knowledge providers and knowledge translators out there that are better suited to use this kind of information, and we want to make sure that our research is getting into their hands and not sitting on the shelf somewhere in a publication.
All right, I have another question for you. You say that your tool would reduce the certification costs and make this easier for companies. But aren't these big, rich companies, I mean, how big a barrier is the certification cost really?
Do you know how big the certification market is?
I do not.
Okay.
Now's your chance.
So 4C is one of the most basic standards for coffee, for example, and they certify about 25% of the coffee market. Rainforest Alliance and UTS together certify another 25% of the coffee market, which means 50% is not certified. All of that 50% that is certified is not actually sold as certified because the supply already exceeds the demand for certification. So what we need to do is make certification so cheap and at a standard that is usable by everyone, regardless of the demand from the consumer side, because it will always be capped by consumer demand if it's a premium product that differentiates the coffee or the cocoa or whatever it is. So what we would like to be part of is a movement to say zero deforestation is the minimum standard that we are all operating under, and for that we need to radically reduce costs, and for that we also need to make sure that the expensive parts of the data collection, like collecting location data, is extremely expensive. Let's use that in AI systems to more effectively extract value from those location data to provide benefit to everyone in the market, not just those who are able to afford the data collection.
Right, thank you.
Do you have a team working with you, or are you alone on this project?
So definitely. I'm representing a big team of people who are software developers, programmers, and scientists that have been working on this for starting 13 years ago, actually. So this is built on 3 layers, as you saw. One is a deforestation detection layer that was developed over the last 13 years within CIAT. The new land use classification layer is one that's been developed over the last couple of years on the back of new technology, new satellites, and new data. And the climate suitability layer, which predicts future areas of forest pressure, is one that's developed by another team of climate scientists. So this is something that would not be possible without a lot of expertise. And now what we're looking for, if you vote for us today, we can build something that will be shopped around for another provider to get it in the market.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Was it as hard as you thought it would have been?
It wasn't enough time.
Not enough time?
Yeah, I could stay up here a little longer.
Okay.
Conference moves fast. Speed of light.
Duncan,
Hello, hello.
last but not least.
Thank you.
Spotlight's yours.
Yeah.
Final victim contestant. All right, shall I go ahead? First question here. Okay, so you told us about your CSA Accelerator. And you said that the reason that there is not as much private sector investment in climate-smart agriculture adaptation as we would like to see is because there's a lack of bankable projects. How do we really know it's that versus, you know, investors just not thinking that agriculture is a great place to be putting their money? How do we know that it's really the lack of bankable projects?
Yeah, I guess it's a very complicated situation, and it's too difficult to say that there's only one reason that there's not adequate investment. So I also believe that there could be more appropriate investment mechanisms for investing in agriculture. But I can just tell you from my experience as a consultant, I'm traveling a lot around the world, working with different agribusinesses, and I'm seeing businesses that have great business models that really are promoting CSA, but that from a kind of business management and financial management perspective, they're not able to attract the investment that they need in order to scale up. So it is a complicated answer, but I definitely think that the lack of bankable projects is one of the big barriers.
So the funny story is we're actually doing almost the same job.
Yes.
I'm also sometimes pitching my organization as an investment accelerator. So I know how difficult it is to scale this kind of business. It's very human intensive. Yeah. So that's my question. Do you have a magic recipe actually to to scale this business? So working on one project is one thing, but how do you get to 2, 3, 4, like 100 projects?
Yeah, so far we've had 5 different companies that we've managed to get investment for. I think that a main advantage that we have, the company I work for, like I said, is a consulting company, and because of this consulting business, we have a lot of synergies. We're already out in different countries meeting these businesses, and so I think that through this consulting work, we can really take advantage of this human resource to scale up quicker than a kind of isolated investment accelerator.
All right, and I'd like to understand your business model a little bit better. So you say in your video that this would operate on a commercial basis, and that would make it sustainable. What exactly does it mean? I mean, so you get some startup funding, some seed funding, but then how does this stay sustainable when you're working with, small businesses that don't have a lot of money to put into things?
Yeah, so basically we have 2 different revenue streams that we've already proven so far. The first is that we're charging investors that are coming to us. They want to build pipeline, they want to find interesting companies to invest in, and so we charge them for that service. We're charging the investor directly. And then the second revenue stream we have is charging the business. But I really agree with your point that a lot of these businesses are small, and maybe it's not even ethically right to charge them a lot for this service. So our model there is really performance-based, which means that we're only receiving a fee if we're successful in raising the money for the business. And so it's a percentage, actually, of the investment that we raise for them.
Who is doing the work? So on this, working with these startups or social entrepreneurs or projects, do you engage with local talent, local resources, or do you actually mostly operate offshore?
Yeah, we have national consultants in several different countries who are actually doing the work of engaging with the companies. Myself, I'm sitting internationally, and I'm advising the national consultants on the business, and my work is more like in terms of investor relations, matching the businesses to our investor network.
All right, one more question from me. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing to make this accessible and of interest to some of the most vulnerable farmers, to women, to other marginalized groups?
Yeah, and it's a very good question, because I think that in general, private sector is not so accessible to the most vulnerable. Private sector really is flowing to businesses that are already established and making a lot of money. I would just say that I think that the whole design of the accelerator is to work with businesses that otherwise couldn't get investment. That's the whole conceit of it. And I can tell you that we're very proud that of the 5 businesses that I mentioned that we're invested in, three of them are women-owned. So it's something we're definitely looking for. It's not only environmental CSA impact, but we also are trying to have these other positive social impacts.
Last minute. Can you share one success story among all these entrepreneurs you help, if you have one that actually stand out?
Sure. So the biggest win we've had so far was in Paraguay, where there was a German family investor that came to us, and they said, we want to, they didn't know a lot about it, but they said, we want to do forestry and agriculture in Paraguay. And actually, so my company has been operating in Paraguay for a long time, managing silvopastoral systems for a Paraguayan agricultural company. So we worked with the investor, designed the project so it fit their needs, and we're just now, we found a farmer that wanted to cooperate on this, and we're just now breaking ground on establishing silvopastoral systems on areas that were previously degraded pasture land. So we're really proud of this, yeah.
Okay, let's hear the roar. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Tiffany. Thanks, Rodrigo in the US.
They
for
all
actually,
survived.
Thank you.
So they survived for now, that is. But we still don't know who is actually going to go away with the prize. But let me first ask for a round of applause for the judges. Rebecca, David. If you think it's hard to stand here defending a project, I think it's as hard to actually ask the question. Thanks a lot. Okay, so now it's up to you. Go to your mobile phone and vote. The results of the vote will not be made known until tomorrow. So they're going to be very nervous tonight, indeed. And tomorrow we have the big prize event. You can see how you can actually vote. So I would ask you to vote now. Can anybody tell me if the voting is going all right? It's going fine. Okay, thanks. While I'll just talk and you can still vote. After this, it's actually closed for the plenary today. There are side events. Please go there. They're very interesting. At 8:30 sharp, I would request all those people who have registered for the dinner, and you can see that when you have a green sticker on your badge, to go to the exit, and there will be buses to take you to the venue for the dinner. 6:30 sharp. It's 10 minutes away from here, so please be on time. Only if you have a green sticker for them. This closes the Dragon's Den. Thanks for voting. Thanks for supporting both the judges and the contestants. And please do go to the side events, and we see you all for a well-deserved dinner tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.